But in reality, sainthood is a lot simpler than a lot of people are making it out to be. When you die, you are not going to stand before the throne of God and have your mother there to tell you what to do. You are allowed to make your own decisions. Hi everybody, I'm Amber Rose. If you're new here, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So glad you could be joining me. I am wearing my Frog and Toad t-shirt. This seems to be a crowd pleaser, so I have to wear it in at least one video. But today's video is basically, I don't even know how to describe it yet. I don't know how I'm gonna title it just yet because I'm kind of hitting on a few different topics. But in general, the main theme is like, you are allowed to make your own decisions. God gave us free will, he gave us an intellect, and we should be using those things in order to make decisions. But basically, there is this trend that I've seen online amongst younger Catholics, probably in my generation, Gen Z, and a little bit younger, where it's like they genuinely want to be holy. They genuinely want to please God and be a good Catholic and all of this stuff. But there seems to be this underlying fear that's causing a lot of mental stress, anxiety, and honestly, maybe on more of the extreme side, I see it ruining lives, and then I also see it stalling vocations. And so I think that's something we need to talk about. And again, I'm pregnant. I don't know how to title this, but I'll think of a title later, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I think one of the ways I would describe this is a form of emotional and spiritual paralysis. I don't know, I just kind of feel like we've accidentally created this bubble-wrapped culture around a lot of young adults where they feel like they're completely paralyzed and they can't take an actual adult step without some blatant sign from God or consulting their priest or their spiritual director or their confessor. It just kind of feels like we're living through a massive epidemic of people who just want to be told what to do constantly. And I mean, we live in a highly optimized world, you know, oh, I want DoorDash in 20 minutes. Oh, I can have my favorite meal here in like 5 seconds. You might have to put that on Klarna and pay like 20% interest, but who cares? That's actually a different video for another time. The point is, we have a lot of things at our fingertips that other generations just haven't had. And my fear is that we've taken that instant gratification type of mentality and we've stuck it into other areas of our lives. I mean, how can we not if it's so saturated in the world we live in today? Obviously, we're going to do that in other areas of our lives. And I genuinely feel like, from my own experience of talking with people and then, of course, growing up in this generation, that we want to follow the path of least resistance. We want the shortcut. We want the Krabby Patty secret formula. We just want like that 5-step plan. It removes all awkwardness, all friction. I guess basically like all the risk of being a human being, like just the human experience. I know a lot of people who say they want a beautiful, holy, deeply traditional Catholic marriage, but they don't want to go through the agonizing, messy, uncomfortable work that it takes to become a person worth marrying. They don't want to work on their communication skills. They don't want to face their baggage. They don't want to ask somebody out of fear of being rejected. And I get that that's like valid, like it's a real fear, but like that's kind of just a part of life. Oh, and also people I've recognized as well, they are not willing to root out their selfishness and basically practice the virtue of sacrifice and stuff like that. It's always, well, what is she gonna do for me in the relationship? Or what is he gonna offer me in the relationship? It's never, what can I offer this person? And it just kind of feels like people want a specific magic prayer to fix everything. They want to pray this novena to Saint Joseph and instantly the perfect spouse is just gonna be dropped on their doorstep and they can get married and basically just like ride into the sunset with their hair flowing in the wind. That's not reality. That is not how life works. You don't get a spouse. Actually, you don't get anything. Well, oof, I probably shouldn't say that in today's world, but you shouldn't get anything by putting zero effort in. But the point is, I think a lot of us, we look at our crippling social anxiety or intense fear of what people think of us or the deep-seated insecurities that we have from our childhood, and instead of just doing the brutal daily sweat-inducing work of just putting ourselves out there, just going to therapy, practicing basic human conversation and learning how to navigate all of the, you know, the discomfort of social settings, instead of doing all of that, so many people just, you know, they sit alone in their rooms. They pray for a spiritual lightning bolt to basically, I don't know, like strike their brain so that they can suddenly wake up tomorrow morning completely just confident and charismatic and healed and, oh, I have no issues and all of that stuff. And a lot of people want that without actually having to put in the real work or face real world consequences, or I think just in general, The word I'm looking for is discomfort. People don't want to be uncomfortable. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people who use the word discernment as an excuse to stay in their little bubble, to not put the work in, to not have to do hard things. Because if they use the term, oh, well, I'm discerning, who are you to question that? Actually, who are they to even question it themselves? Now, discernment is a real thing that you actually need to do, but discernment is not without action. And a lot of times, especially when I have talked to people and we've actually gotten to the root of certain situations, we've realized that they've been using the term discernment because they're absolutely just horrified of making a decision on their own. And they've learned that if they say, oh, well, I'm discerning something, people usually leave them alone. This has happened so many times at this point. You would actually be surprised. So I want you to listen to me when I say you do not need to discern whether or not you should be a brave, functional, capable adult. You do not need a priest or a spiritual director or a confessor to tell you to step out of your comfort zone. You can just do that. You don't need a lightning bolt moment where it's spelled out in the stars for you exactly in order to just have a normal, decent human conversation with somebody, to smile at somebody, even if your anxiety is really bad and your heart is pounding against your chest. Like, I understand. I have dealt with anxiety for most of my life. I know how that feels. I know social anxiety. I know all of that stuff. And I still kind of have it. It doesn't always go away, but you learn to cope. You learn to make it through. And that is so important in being a functioning human being in society. Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. Or sometimes we have to just take risks. We won't know the outcome, and depending on what that risk is, it's either going to help us grow and teach us a lesson and whatever that might be, or it will lead to something better. God often speaks in hindsight, and you won't see how he's working in your life until you look back like a few months, few years or whatever, and you see like, wow, that was really God working in my life. He's very diligent, but he's not going to just be like, boom, you should get this job at this place at this time. That's actually pretty superstitious, and that's not something as Catholics we believe in. But you don't need signs like that. You don't need to be told what to do 24/7. What you need is, and I say this with so much love, a spine. You need a spine. I'm gonna lose so many followers for this. I'm so sorry. But I'm telling you guys this because I love you guys and I want you guys to enjoy life, to enjoy the human experience, and to learn how to work through these things, and to basically like be the final person to give you permission to be like, yes, you can make decisions. You are in charge of your own life. You can do this. But you have the Gospels, you have the Catechism, and also I should say it is not bad at all to seek guidance. But you should understand that this video is not about people who are specifically seeking guidance or who are like, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and they are actually making big boy, big girl decisions, and they just want some input, or they just want to know how they should go about something. Like, that is totally normal. We learn from each other. Having mentors is amazing. What this video is about, and what I am specifically talking about, are the people who constantly need to be told what to do. The people who expect life to just happen to them, or for God to just do things to them or in their life, and they don't even have to lift a finger. Those are the people I'm addressing. I'm not addressing the people who are like, oh, well, I go to spiritual direction, should I not do that anymore? It's like, no. Go to spiritual direction, go to your confessor, go to your priest, go to your mentors, but they should not be the dictators of your life and be telling you what to do. You should be making big decisions and taking risks and all that stuff on your own. Never hurts to have input from people, but you have responsibility to your life. So no matter how much somebody might want to help or anything like that, they're never going to know your life exactly how you do. And I've had moments in my own life where I've gone to my spiritual director and I'm like, what do I do about this? Because I'm genuinely lost and I've tried like 4 different things. What do I do? And then I got some really great guidance. So there are those moments, but again, not the people I'm talking about in this video. Gloria Patri has become my favorite coffee brand as well as my husband's. If you guys know nothing about us, the one thing you need to know is that we are both coffee snobs. We really take seriously the quality of our coffee, the flavor, the taste, and how we brew it with different methods. And Gloria Patri has been one of the only brands that has stood the test of time with us. I have loved everything from their light roast to their medium roast to their dark roast, and that is extremely rare for me. There's a reason why I haven't partnered with other coffee brands in the past. This is actually one of the first coffee brands I am promoting to you guys because I'm so confident you guys will love it as much as I do and my husband does. So I want you to go check them out for yourself. Go to gloriapatri.com and use my code. I guarantee you guys will love this coffee as much as Max and I do, and I am so happy that I finally found a coffee brand that lives up to our expectations. And with all of that being said, let's move on to the video again. Oh, honestly, it feels really good to get that off my chest, I'm not gonna lie. And you know what? God, he designed you with free will and human intellect. And those two things combined are so much more powerful and I don't know, liberating than this weird passive mindset that the world has kind of squished us into. Really, actually what it is it's like a codependent mindset. And we really don't want to have that type of codependent mindset, unless of course the codependency is on God. But again, even then, we still need to put in the work. I actually love this quote from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's in paragraph 1778, and it says, "Conscience is a judgment of reason whereby the human person recognizes the moral quality of a concrete act that he is going to perform, is in the process of performing, or has already completed." Basically, to put it in terms that we will all understand, it's not about vibes at the end of the day. It's really not about the vibe. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna get this chill down my spine, or like I'm gonna open my Bible randomly and just point to a word with my eyes closed and that's gonna be what God wants to tell me. Using your conscience is an act of reason. We don't go through life with instincts the way that animals do, where they're literally just one thing after another after another. It's all instinctual. We just don't work like that. We're not like drifting through the world with these emotional vibes on what cereal to buy or what foot we need to step forward with first. God gave us intellect. He gave us a highly sophisticated brain. He gave us logic, and he gave us free will, and he actually does expect you to use these things. And actually in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, I think it's paragraph 1776, it states that conscience is man's most secret core and his sanctuary, and there he is alone with God, whose voice echoes in its depths. So your mind, your conscience, is a place where you can be with God, where you can be alone with Almighty God. But with great reason comes great responsibility. I know that's not the quote. I'm pregnant and I don't remember what it is. I just know it's from Spider-Man, I think. When you eventually die, because we will all die, death is a whole part of life, you know, memento mori, remember your death. When you die, you are not going to stand before the throne of God and have your mother there to tell you what to do, or have your spiritual director there and give you the step-by-step basis on what you should say or how you should go about this. You can't bring your mom, your favorite influencer, nobody, okay? Just you. Are you going to stand before God and say, well, I know you gave me all these gifts, God, and everything, but I never got like a specific sign from you, so I never ended up using any of them. Really, at the end of the day, it's your fault, not mine. Hopefully you wouldn't say that even today. That's a pretty bad attitude to have, but that's kind of the mentality, you know what I mean? Basically saying like, yeah, I didn't do anything for most of my life or for 2 years or whatever because nobody told me exactly what to do exactly when, or my favorite influencer did not answer my specific question about how I should approach this girl or how I should approach this guy, or my spiritual director didn't tell me exactly what vocation I should go into. When you stand before the throne of God, the decisions you make, or lack thereof, decisions you make, will all impact your sainthood. Being a saint is scary. I'm not telling you that, oh, it's so easy, like just suck it up, buttercup, and just do it. It takes time, it takes dedication. I used to have to talk to myself in the mirror to get over my social anxiety, and I would have to sit in my car for 15 minutes whenever I would get to a church event or anything to just hype myself up to be able to go in and talk to people. And once I was actually there and talking to people, I relaxed so much more, but it was always just getting there and getting involved that was the hardest thing for me. And you know, once I got past that hump and I did it over and over and over and over and over again, it became more natural. And it's unfortunate that we would have to talk at ourselves in the mirror in order to gain any type of confidence or to practice talking to other human beings. Like, that should be just a normal thing. But some of us genuinely have these issues. But instead of sitting back and letting these issues rule our lives, we need to be proactive. We need to take incentive and actually do things that are going to help us overcome these issues instead of just allowing them to control us. And, you know, going back to our conscience and stuff like that, the church tells us that we are morally obligated to form our conscience properly. There is a specific type of judgment we need to take when forming our conscience. It doesn't come out of the box like, our conscience, brand new, no issues whatsoever. No, some consciences need to be forged in fire, like mine was. And I'll be honest, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of grueling, hard work. And that is really hard to form in today's society, in my opinion, because I feel like there are just so many things working against us and working against our conscience and our intellect and our free will. And because the world is constantly pushing against us and pushing against virtue and pushing against God, I mean, God's been basically forced out of every area of life at this point, it takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more hard work and grueling labor in order to form your conscience properly, in order to be a practicing Catholic even. And I think that's where a lot of people also want to bypass the hardships and things like that, and they would rather push off the responsibility onto a spiritual director or a mentor of some kind instead of actually taking responsibility and forming their own intellect, taking the time to read the books, study, practice virtue, and overall just live out the Gospels in their life. A lot of people want to have sainthood without doing what it actually takes to become a saint. A lot of people want the trophy without winning the race. But sainthood is not automated, and it's not something that you can outsource to somebody else. Honestly, sainthood is just about the small, mundane things in everyday life and how you treat your neighbor and how you are living out the gospel, how other people are seeing you as a Christian, and this especially goes for people online. But in reality, sainthood is a lot simpler than a lot of people are making it out to be, because truly, holiness, sainthood, all of that stuff, that is in the mundane, and just living your vocation well, being in a state of grace, receiving the sacraments, going to mass, all of that stuff matters so much more than trying to fit in 5 rosaries a day. I'm not saying that prayer isn't important or that veiling isn't important or that certain things are not important, but people put so much pressure on each other, and they're like, well, if you don't look exactly how I think you should look as a Catholic, you're not Catholic. And that's not right, you know? Everybody's prayer life is gonna look different. I just talked about this in my updated prayer life routine where I give advice and tips on prayer. I'll put it somewhere, maybe in the description or something for you guys. But that is so wrong, to put these expectations of you need to look exactly like me, otherwise you're not Catholic. Everybody is different. Everybody's relationship with God is different. If you look at the saints, yeah, they were a part of similar orders or the same order. Maybe they had similar charisms and things like that, but they were not the same. Saint Faustina's relationship with God looked completely different from Saint Francis of Assisi's relationship with God. You cannot compare and contrast like that, because that is just not right. And I think it's making a lot of people scrupulous who don't need to be scrupulous. And I'm going to do a whole video about toxic Catholic communities online and offline, how to avoid them, how to navigate them, etc. But for now, I'll just leave it at that. But I also feel like there might be this, I don't know, you guys can tell me in the comments below, but I feel like recently there's been more of a stigma with, maybe stigma's not the right word, I don't know, a trend maybe of people feeling like, oh, having a spiritual director is necessary for sainthood. Like, I have to have a spiritual director and somebody to tell me what to do and to dissect my life and just, I don't know, all that stuff. And it's like, I understand wanting guidance, of course, but you don't need a spiritual director. Saint Ignatius of Loyola, he was literally like the saint of discernment. After a war, his legs were blown up by a cannonball and he was bored and laying in bed, and the only thing he had to read were books about the saints and books about Christ, and he was thinking about how his military career was probably down the drain because of his legs and the cannonball and everything, but he didn't have a spiritual director. Instead, he made decisions through his intellect, through his heart, that made sense. And the most important thing that he did is he acted. And then he got out of bed, he started walking, and he's one of the coolest saints ever. But for those of you who have spiritual directors, because this is a trap that many people fall into, a true mentor, a true spiritual director is never going to tell you exactly what to do all the time, every time. If you are looking for a director because you want them to tell you specifically who you should marry, what job you should be taking, how to manage your finances, what you should eat for dinner, maybe, that's a little extreme. But if you have somebody dictating every moment of your life, you're going to be so miserable, because we weren't made for that. That's not what we want. That shouldn't be what we want. We kind of gaslight ourselves into being like, oh, well, this is easier than me making my own decisions, which is like kind of true true, but also not. So if you do have a spiritual director or a mentor who is telling you exactly what you should be doing in your secular life, I highly suggest you leave that situation immediately, because that is not healthy, nor is that going to help you grow. A true spiritual director's job is to help clear away all of the noise that comes with you trying to find your vocation. They make sure that you are following moral law appropriately. And then the most crucial part about this is they get out of the way. They cannot live your life for you. They cannot fight your battles for you. You have to do that yourself. But you're not alone, because you have the saints and you have Jesus and you have Our Lady. So it's, you know, while you do have to fight your own battles, you are definitely not alone in them. I will say the struggle is real, you know, because if you have social anxiety, God's just not gonna go poof, oh, all of a sudden you're charismatic and you have no issues or anything. But He will give you opportunities to be able to grow and to be able to overcome that social anxiety, and to give you the grace to overcome that social anxiety. But you need to work with God, and you need to put yourself out there and do things that will help you overcome that social anxiety. God's just not going to go poof, oh, you're fixed. But He will give you opportunities to overcome your fear, to grow in grace, and to make those connections that are really important for us to heal. And if you are one of those people who's looking for a spouse, God is not going to drop a perfect, fully formed saint through your ceiling onto your living room couch and be like, behold, this is your wife, or this is your husband. But when it comes to finding a spouse, if you put in the work, God will give you the graces to become the person worth marrying. Somebody who is brave, who's reliable, who's emotionally stable, who's kind and willing to take on terrifying risks, who is willing to sacrifice, who is strong in their faith. All of those things are so important. And then He also gives you the freedom to be able to go out, to meet people, to ask somebody on a date. You know, just building those relationships and choosing to love somebody with all their imperfections. But basically what I'm trying to say in this video is that God has already given you everything you need to become a great saint. You have the sacraments, you have a will, you have an intellect. It's time to start using those. Again, I understand that it's scary. Don't get me wrong, I 100% get that. But you are not alone, and staying on the fence and just sitting there and never making a decision for yourself and constantly waiting for other people to tell you what to do or how you should live your life, it's not doing you any favors. So I just want this video to be encouragement for you, maybe a little kick in the butt, but mainly encouragement for you. If you're struggling, you know, with making adult decisions and feeling like an adult, I mean, I still feel like I'm 17. I'm not gonna lie. I am not 17, but I still feel like I am. And then I meet a 17-year-old and I'm like, oh, I am definitely not 17. But in a lot of ways, I still feel that way. And I still feel a lot of the fear that that version of me had felt when I was uncertain and I didn't know what to do and I felt like I needed people to tell me exactly what to do. But I was completely miserable, and it wasn't until I took, you know, I well, first of all, reverted, but then also took life back into my own hands and started making decisions. Some that ruffled feathers of many people, but it ended up being the best decisions of my life. They weren't easy. I think some people think that making good decisions in your life is going to be easy and smooth sailing and everybody's going to support you. That is not true at all. Sometimes making the right decision means crying yourself to bed 3 nights in a row. Okay, I think that's basically it. I'm also sorry if this video's all over the place. Pregnancy brain has been kicking my butt recently and I cannot keep anything straight. I literally can't. I can't. So I'm gonna piece this together as best as I can so that it's not all over the place. But I just want to let you guys know that I am your cheerleader. I am in your corner. I understand that things are hard, but we really do kind of need that kick in the butt sometimes. Obviously, I want this video to be encouraging for you, but I understand that, you know, we're all in different areas of life and we're all going through different things. But at the end of the day, you cannot let the spirit of fear control you, I guess is just what I want to say. So with all of that being said, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Toodles!